Our next speaker is telling us about mansplaining diversity, and that's Mark Williams from JISC.
Yeah, I'm acutely aware of the irony of me being a white, middle-aged Englishman talking about diversity and inclusion at an international conference, particularly in this era of Brexit. I'm from JISC, the UK NREN. I'd like to think we're a very inclusive organisation. We certainly aim to be. We have a diversity officer, thankfully, who actually helped me prepare this talk. And back the offices at home, we represent what politicians like to call modern Britain. Huge diversity of race, gender, sexuality, sexual orientation, neurodiversity, etc. And in the sector I represent, 16% of staff come from black and minority ethnic groups. But there is a saying, if you're talking about diversity and you're not having an uncomfortable conversation, you're not talking about diversity. So let's see if we can get uncomfortable. That's the JISC senior leadership team. That's the runners and riders to be our next Prime Minister. I think when you're starting to lag behind the top level of the Conservative Party in terms of diversity, you do have some questions you might want to be asking yourselves. This is the ethnic breakdown of JISC. So, you know, we are actually very multicultural. Perhaps ELT doesn't really represent that. I have no doubt that the members who are on that ELT are there on merit. I have no doubt that our hiring practices are absolutely scrupulously fair. But, you know, somewhere along the line, some kind of unconscious bias is getting in there. Is it that the sort of image of a Praetorian white, privately educated male, effectively, is becoming the one that we you know, select to go to conferences, to stand up and speak, to be on panels, and it becomes self-selecting. We're sending the same people. Our HE sector, obviously a wide mix, but again, BME representation in that is very poor amongst the top universities. In private schools, BME representation is very low, and of course they feed in and supply a lot of the top jobs, both in the corporate world and in the government world. And our universities have a commitment to improving diversity and improving the opportunities for people, and that's partly in the Race Equality Charter. A rather horrific stat here of senior managers in the UK education sector in 2017 in universities, we had only 5 black people. But organisations which do have diverse staff, diverse management, get better results, they get better outcomes, and it stands to reason. They're drawing from a much wider pool of talent and knowledge. And that's why it's important here. Conferences aren't just about staying away because the CO2 rises. We're talking about standards here, user experience standards, trying to avoid a situation where face recognition algorithms have unconscious bias one way or another. I used to be the speaker who always had a really loud voice and refused the microphone until a colleague of mine said, actually, the microphone isn't for you, it's for people with hearing disabilities, and they can hear you better through the microphone via a speaker. So, as a conference representing the research and higher education sector, we really need to start supporting their diversity initiatives and reflecting them. Unconscious bias is a kind of evil trickle-down economics. It affects an individual's career exponentially as they continue. And even if we negate that effect, we've got to remove the barriers which might prevent somebody from a BME background maybe coming to a conference, having the confidence to speak at a conference, and perhaps even having the confidence to speak about a controversial topic. This hasn't been a request to answer all these questions. Actually, what I'm requesting you to do is start asking these questions. And some of the answers will be uncomfortable. Trying to get stats for this talk, I engaged with various organisers, and some said, well, we don't collect that information because of GDPR, or we don't collect that information because we're worried we might perpetuate some of the issues we're fighting against. and others said, well, we want to solve the problem internally first before we surface information. It's understandable, but I don't think it's transparent, and siloing information doesn't help us solve it. I hope you're sitting here right now quite angry, thinking this does not apply to my organisation. But if you're not, please, the next time a staff opportunity comes up, mention diversity. Thank you.